Well, hello, everybody. It's Mark Wollner from the Indiana Bond Bank and hosting your Indiana Bondcast again, which is our public finance podcast on all things public finance. And today we're starting a series talking with our innovators who have joined us for our 2022 Flipping Finance Challenge, which is our fourth annual event designed to help communities around the state. And as you'll hear today, even some state entities on, facing down the current challenges in the finance and local government environments. And so thrilled to be joined by a couple of first-time participants in Flipping Finance Challenge. We've got Certis Montgomery and Josh Tooley from 1150 Academy. And 1150, I'm sure many of you here locally in Indiana have heard of it. It's a nonprofit 501c3 dedicated to bridging the tech talent gap in Indiana. So Certis, Josh, welcome. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for having us.
I appreciate it.
Oh my gosh. So tell us about it. This was your first time doing the Flipping Finance Challenge. So you formed a team, you worked on this. Tell us maybe about the challenge you worked on, why you came, what the experience was like. Turn it over to you guys.
Yeah, this was a great opportunity for us. Me personally, just a great opportunity just because I love tech and this was right up our alley. This is what we do about cybersecurity. We were presented with the challenge of how to bridge the gap between our state government and local governments. There seems to be a little bit of a trust issue there. And the whole, issue is this, if they didn't want to hear it from the state, we just wanted to somehow get the message that cybersecurity is very important and is a strong need. It used to be seen as just a want or some overhead cost for most organizations, but now even at the state level, down to an individual level, cybersecurity is just a need that we have to have in our daily lives. So taking up that challenge with this project was very close to home for all of us. And it was just a great opportunity to kind of showcase our skills, but also our viewpoint on what we kind of dove into, what was very important to, at least at the very minimum at an individual level, what were the minute things that we need to pay attention to that could really blow up into something huge if we're not careful. So I guess I'll let Josh elaborate on his experience, but this whole experience has just been nothing but fantastic. And I before I do let Josh say anything, I would like to say that even if we weren't a part of the cybersecurity challenge, all the other challenges seemed right up our alley that we were all kind of geeked up and excited for. So hopefully moving forward, we'll be able to be a continued partner in this endeavor, but not only just in our wheelhouse, but try to tack on some of these other challenges that are kind of outside of our scope.
Yeah, Certis approached the opportunity, once he talked to Mark and said, hey, I got this Flipping Finance Challenge. You want to hear about it, see what it might be entailing, and kind of went through the process of what we were going to be doing. Kind of excited us, as a team at 1150, at a unique opportunity to kind of show our talents, show our knowledge, and help folks in the way of cybersecurity, the way that cybersecurity has become more prevalent in our everyday lives that people may not even realize. So I was really excited by the opportunity. It's been a lot of fun.
That was fantastic. And we would love to have you back. Yeah, next year. Cybersecurity could probably be an evergreen challenge for every year. This year was about communication with local government. It'd be great if we knocked that out this year and then we're able to move on to another cybersecurity piece of the puzzle next year. Or regardless, as you said, Certis, there's a little piece of your talents could fit, as you probably heard, a lot of those different local government challenges. And so that'd be great to see your skill sets kind of come to bear for something that maybe people wouldn't think of for the 1150 Academy right off the top of their head.
Yeah, all the other counties and cities that had those issues, it was just a great experience to see all these great minds coming together and having a chance to kind of brainstorm and see what we could do to help out these areas and needs. And it also just kind of sparked the fire, these are some far outreaching in areas that I never personally heard of most. So that was exciting to get a little bit more insight on the state that I'm born and raised in, but also kind of sparked the ideas that, this could boom out even further. to other counties and other entities that we're not aware of, and what other needs could we be putting our good talents to and trying to solve what other problems, big or small. So I think this is just an amazing challenge. It sparked off a lot of ideas inside myself and inside our organization. What else could we be doing? Not also for the big guy, but also looking out for the little guy as well.
Yeah, we're here for that. And so one of the things you talked about was that spark, that passion. I mean, you immediately, when I talked to you about the flipping finance challenge, you're like, yeah, sounds great. And I'm bringing a team. And when I first met your team for kind of the pre-call of what to expect, one of the things I was struck by with 1150 was the structure of so many of the people when they're introducing themselves. I went through it and now I'm a trainer or instructor, or I'm, part of the team. It was very like this unique familial environment where if you've been through it, you stick around with it. And so tell me a little bit more about 1150. Your reputation is in more and more every day. I hear about you guys, but I'd love to hear more about who you are, what you do, and just, give us the 1150.
Well, it's a very unique program. I personally had been a working tech here in Indy for a couple well-known companies. And when the pandemic hit, just like a lot of other individuals, I personally just did not have the skills that made me uncuttable. So I was released day one back in 2020, March 20th of 2020 to be exact. And my wife actually found 1150, and it was a wonderful program. I could go to school at night. Our instructors were wonderful. They're very knowledgeable about this information. And the thing I want to stress is that the information that we do house here at 1150, the bare bones, the foundation of the information comes from CompTIA. That information is out on the net. So anyone can go anywhere, find this information. There are millions of boot camps around the country, around our state. But what makes 1150 different is the people, the care that we put into each individual student. You're not just a number. You're not just someone that's in a seat. You are someone that we are trying to nurture and grow and expand that knowledge of IT into the state of Indiana or around the world, because those certifications, CompTIA is just not Indiana, they're global. So these certifications will travel. And as you had spoken to, a lot of our team members are former students, and that just goes to show that we kind of stand by what we say. We are homegrown talent. Those students that have come through the program that were exceptional standouts usually find a home at EFA and become instructors. And it's just forged in that fire, that iron sharpens iron. You have that familiarity. You went through their program. So now there's this duality that comes with that. You were in the seat of the student, so you know exactly what they're going through as an instructor now. So that way we can tailor make that curriculum to that student individual needs, because we know what it's like to be that student. But again, the care that you get, the accessibility that you have to your professors, is just around the clock. It's top class, world class. And these, a lot of the study materials are made by the instructors. So again, there's only so much that we're getting from CompTIA, and then there's so much that we are ourselves an academy expounding on that information and tailor fitting it to that classroom setting. So if this is a quiet class, but they love quizzes, we're quiz heavy. If this is a very boisterous class and they love documentation, we are document heavy. So we try to fit the needs of our students, and that fosters that environment of learning that you just don't get anywhere else. I would almost compare ourselves to a college level style of learning, but it's just so much more personable. And it's like I said, you're not a number. You actually become a student. Josh was one of my students, so I got to know him, and we actually handpick through our students who were the standouts and who we think would be a shining light aboard on our team. And Josh is just one of those standouts. And I would love for him have expound on his experience from being a student and now being one of our instructor trainees.
Yeah, so EFA was actually recommended to me by my father-in-law, who was a lifelong IT guy, found the program, just running some Google searches. And I had gotten to the point where I come from a physical security and corrections background. I was tired of the grind. I was tired of wearing body armor all day and dealing with people that didn't want to deal with you. So I had kind of, that running, jumping, shooting, having all that fun sounds fun in your 20s, but as you get older and as you build a family, man, it doesn't exactly sound as appealing anymore. At least it didn't to me. And I got mad respect for, all forms of law enforcement, corrections, security. I get it. I done it. It's a unique career path, and those that want to stick with it, for the long haul, you got my respect. But if for me, it was something that I didn't want to do anymore. But I didn't know what else I could do or what else I was qualified to do. And my father-in-law kind of said, here's this, program. My sister-in-law actually went through the coding program and said they also have a cybersecurity program, and said, why don't you go check it out? So I sat down for a class, was really, really interested. I've always had an interest in tech, but I was never formally trained. Everything that I learned to do on a computer, I either taught myself through YouTube videos or reading articles or just, playing around with myself, playing around on the computer myself. And I, had an interest in it. So when I found the program, got to the program, it was some of the most intense learning that I've ever done in my entire life. It's coming at you hard and fast, and you better be ready for it. It requires, I was working 55 hours a week. My wife was pregnant with our first child. And I'm trying to learn this new skill all at the same time. So to say that stress is not a factor, it absolutely is a factor, but it's some of the most rewarding, some of the most fun that I've ever had in a classroom environment. And I can't say enough about the program. It's really helped me transform my career and my life. There's nothing that I wouldn't do for the Academy at this point, because I feel so grateful and indebted to the Academy. So when the opportunity came, said, hey, would you like to become a learning assistant? And now an instructor trainee. So in the 4 months that I've been with the Academy, I've already promoted once. I've already had the opportunity to teach different things that were not, part of my program, right? I've already had the opportunity to get more certifications, get more experience. So I can't say enough about the Academy and the experience that I've had. It's a really unique a place where a lot of boot camps will just say, here's the book, here's the material, let us know if you pass a certification, right? And they'll give you a week or 2 weeks at most. We move fast, but it's not at a pace where you can't keep up. Like I said, I was doing all those things at the same time, and was still able to pass. I literally, during the Academy, while I'm in class, Thursday night class, get off class for the night. My wife goes into labor an hour later. And I'm back in class on Tuesday evening, saying, hey, what I miss, going back through things. So it's doable, as so long as you have the right mindset and the right attitude. But it really is like nothing else I've ever seen.
Amazing. And Josh, can you tell us, so if you're somebody's out there listening, whether it's them, they know a friend, if they're cybersecurity, Josh mentioned coding opportunities, the whole spectrum of what 1150 offers, what's the best way they could learn more about EFA?
We are everywhere. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn. Reach out to us, or just go to 1150.org and try and speak with an admissions advisor. They will answer all the questions you have, program cost, the length of programs, what programs are right for you. If you want to, 1150 started initially as a coding academy, right? And everybody wants to know where the name 1150 came from. The name 1150 came from our CEO and owner, Scott Jones. That was a street address of his house where he started this program. So that's where 1150 came from. We're now in a Phish's location at our launch facility, and we also have a location downtown Indy, just off of Ohio Street. So there's 2 locations in Indy. Most of our classes are conducted online, but we do have some in-person options coming up now that things are finally moving back into the real world. People are not about that Zoom life all the time anymore. So we do have some options coming up that are in person, but we have, coding from front end web development to software dev, UX, UI. But we also have the cybersecurity program, and that's Certis and I's wheelhouse. We're cybersecurity guys through and through.
And so tell me about cyber. So you worked on the cyber challenge for Flipping Finance. I would love I know cyber moves daily by the minute, but maybe this spring 2020, for somebody who's listening to this in spring 2022, golly, it's not 2020 anymore, spring 2022. What's the state of cybersecurity as you guys see it? If you could kind of speak broadly to that for our audience, because we do have an audience of local governments. And as Certis said, it's not something you can outsource anymore. it's not a want, it's a need. What should people be looking for or preventing against?
Just it's a wide net, but try to kind of rein it in just a little bit for the time here. Outside of Josh and myself and maybe yourself, the normal person has one email address. That one email address, because the world we live in now, if you have a Facebook account, use that one email address. If you use doctor appointments, to schedule car, your oil change, sometimes we're using that one email address. And people just don't know how much information we are broadcasting. You may think it's nice to put the mom, the dad, the daughter, the dog, and how many pets on the back of your car, but as a hacker, that's information. Now it's not, I'm not trying to break into your house. Now that's giving me context clues to what that password be for that one email address. Is it your wife's maiden name? Is it your kid's name? Is it your pet's name? Is it their birthdays? That information, a lot of us just use that one password, that one account for everything, to get into everything. And a lot of these accounts, not to get too deep into jargon, but are federated accounts. So Facebook, sometimes you can go onto like the Google Play Store, for example, and try to get a new game. And the game says, do you want to sign in as a guest? Do you want to sign in as a new user? Or do you want to use your Facebook account? Well, now that Facebook account is tied to that video game. So if that video game gets hacked, you're part of the sweep with your Facebook account, which is attached to that one email address that you use for everything. So now you see how one minor little itty bitty thing that we do every day with these federated accounts has now tied back to that one email address. So now you get caught in one of these hacking sweeps, you have now opened up your entire life to be vulnerable through that one federated account. And like I said, outside of us cyber guys who may have 4 or 5 different email addresses for things, we have passwords that are 8 to 16 or even 46 characters long. You can see where now that's a danger. And if that same account that you're using, let's say you use that at your work email address, it's what you use, because some of us, that's the only email address we may have access to, is our work email address. So now, inadvertently, your place of employment has now been caught up in this sweep. So you can see how that email address and how the security of that password has now spread far and wide. A company that had nothing to do with a video game, and they could say, how are we attached to this sweep? It's because the email address that this individual has is only through work, has now been caught up that they use for. So it's just one of these things, the nature of cybersecurity is just something that little. It's not a bunch of ninjas falling through the ceiling or anything like that. It isn't Arnold Schwarzenegger and a big team of commandos. It's just something as little as tying a video game to your email address that could totally erase who we are and who we're seen as digitally to the rest of the world.
It's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon gone to hell. I mean, it's just like that one federated email account. And it's like you said, you're tying from somehow you start the video game and you end up at work. And it's like, how did those, what's the connection? And that's, oh man, that's scary stuff. So for folks listening, maybe either sign as a guest or create a different email account, or don't use that one account and just have that spoken hub where everything kind of ties back to that, because that can affect it around the rest of the circle.
100%. And if there are applications that you get on your phone that you can go to by a Google search to generate a longer password, you can use stuff like LastPass to keep these passwords safe and secure. So there are measures. And again, I won't try to not promote us at EFA, but there are ways to protect yourself. Coming through our programs, either on the coding or cybersecurity side, you'll learn about that protection. But also, just for those that may not have the ability to even make a commitment to us as an entity, you can always do a Google search and just even get a password generator. That'll be the first step. Start educating yourself, start reading articles, start learning about IoT, the Internet of Things. You have to think now, we have smart light bulbs in our homes. We have smart refrigerators. If you're not changing those passwords, there is something called war driving, where basically someone is in a van or in a car with a laptop and they're driving around looking for open networks. And if you haven't changed those passwords, if they find that a refrigerator is open, they're going to try to go through that refrigerator and see what is called pivoting. So they'll pivot from the refrigerator to maybe your Wi-Fi box or to a computer or a laptop that's connected. And now they are into your devices that are you. So it's that simple. We have to start basic, start with strong passwords, start changing default passwords. That's the number one thing we can start to do when it comes to cybersecurity. Stop using default passwords, stop using your children's names, birthdays. Try to come up with an 8 to 16 character, if not longer, unique password with numbers, numerical values. That is going to be the first thing of defense when it comes to cybersecurity.
Do it and do it now. Certis, Josh, thank you guys so much. Thanks for the work you do. Keep fighting the good fight on the cybersecurity front on a day-to-day basis. And I know on behalf of the state, the Indiana Executive Council on Cybersecurity, the fact that you were willing to take your talents, spend a week on a challenge that could really impact, a solution that could impact all of us across the state and could be applicable whether you're in, north to south, east to west. That means a lot. And so again, thank you for participating. Love to get the word out through this podcast, more about you two and then about EFA. And so we hope to see you next year for sure at Flipping Finance, but I hope to connect with you guys sometime in between as well.
And thank you again for the time. Thank you for your listeners. And again, anything else that we can do just to spread the word, not just about cybersecurity awareness, but just about what we're doing here at the Indiana Bond Bank, anything that we can do to foster that relationship and get the word out, please let us know. We'll be right there at the beck and call.
Much appreciated. Much appreciated. So for Certis Montgomery and Josh Tooley, this is Mark Wollner saying thanks for listening to the Indiana Bondcast, and we'll talk to you again soon. Take care. Well, hello out there. This is Mark Wollner, Executive Director of the Indiana Bond Bank, here with another Indiana Bondcast episode. The Bondcast is your podcast for all things public finance related, and we are in the midst of a little mini series with our Flipping Finance Challenge Innovators, and are joined by Team AU, Team Apprentice University today, Ron Brumbarger, Angie Murrell. Ron and Angie, welcome. It's so good to have you on the Bondcast.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. We're glad to be here.
And so glad to have you. You are all, returning innovators for now 3 years, but Apprentice University has sent a team every year, each of the 4 years of Flipping Finance Challenge. Would love to hear what keeps you coming back.
Well, for me, I'll speak for both of us in this case, and Angie can add some commentary behind it, but we love a challenge. We like bring on the audaciousness of a big challenge that organizations or groups are trying to tackle. And we've had the opportunity to solve several of those outside of just the Flipping Finance Challenge. So we just love the audacity of a big challenge.
Absolutely. I'd agree with that. And this gives us an opportunity to fully practice what we teach all the time at Apprentice University. We deal all the time with innovation and creative problem solving, and all of our students learn those techniques and the skills associated with being great innovators. And so we're all oftentimes facilitating and teaching. So for Ron and I to participate, get our students involved, but also for he and I to participate, it's always just one of those ways to, let's have fun doing it as well as just leading and teaching it.
Glad you mentioned that, Angie, because I don't know that many folks may know what Apprentice University is, what your mission is, what you do. I know when I was introduced in 2019, just by the grace of having some of your students learn about our event and show up, how blown away I was that they were using words and skills and mindsets that, I wish I had known at their age, that didn't know into my mid-career. And it's kind of that big light bulb goes on. But tell us how you're bringing that innovation and problem-solving skills to young people.
Go ahead. You want to start, Ron?
Go ahead. We haven't scripted this.
That's
We
right.
have not.
Free-flowing. That's right. That's right.
Why don't you start, Ron, and I'll
Too
add it.
polite.
Sure. So we firmly believe that the currency that trades internationally these days is not a degree. It's not credits. It's not what did you study back when. It's, do you have the skills necessary to navigate a VUCA world? And to do that, you must be conversant in innovation and creative problem solving and critical thinking skills. And so we believe that that is a foundational element that every young adult needs to be learning here at Apprentice University. And it's how we form everything that we do is imagine, Mark, that you're a pilot, Mach 2, flying through a canyon and a desert and mountains. And that's the VUCA world that we're facing today. And you have to know how to do those things with agility. And so we teach innovation as just a core competency here, just like everybody else would teach the basics of math. You know, we have innovation and problem solving and critical thinking skills.
Mm-hmm. We do it through our students are in apprenticeships, not in skilled trades, but in professional roles out in corporate partners. And they are engaging in the real world at all times. And so they are using these skills, as you saw, Mark, when our students first came 4 years ago now, they are using the skills and not only to engage in like the bond bank's flipping finance challenge, but in the real business world scenarios where they're asking hard questions and thinking and being creative about what could be next for some of our corporate partners. And when we talk about volatility and uncertainty and complexity and ambiguity, students nowadays, that's all they know. That is the world in which they exist. And so we feel very compelled that we must train them in those skills in order to be successful in the global economy and what is coming their way.
That's fantastic. And Angie, listeners, you may have noticed she subtly connected the dots run throughout VUCA, the VUCA world. So the volatility, the uncertainty, the complexity, the ambiguity. I mean, that really is the framework through which kind of everything's happening these days. And you're arming these students who then hopefully are going out right into the world, and maybe it's teaching their peers, teaching their companies where they're at. I know I've heard stories of some of your apprentices coming into companies like the Bond Bank or others, and end up kind of teaching up and teaching out, where they're bringing that language and that mindset, which is really, really cool.
Absolutely. It's very common to hear stories. One of our students will come in and say, hey, this last week I was in a meeting and somebody said, how are we going to do this? And our students will say, well, can I lead? And they'll break out a little fact-finding session. And I know these are words that you know, Mark, so I'll keep the technical jargon to a minimum here. But they'll break out the tools that we've been training them in, and they'll actually lead a little micro workshop for a few minutes to help come up with some fresh ideas. Our students know, for example, here that the word brainstorming is just not a word you just don't use brainstorming here at Apprentice University. They know there's a better way. And so imagine you're sitting across the table from a 19-year-old and someone says, well, let's brainstorm this. And they push back and go, wait a minute, why are you doing that? Why are you wasting that time? There's a better way. So yeah, kind of the Jason Bourne of tomorrow's workforce.
Oh, that's fantastic. Mm-hmm. That is fantastic.
We have students who have used their skills out in our corporate partners to launch new business products, new services for some of our corporate partners, utilizing the skill sets that they have in creative problem solving and innovation. It's amazing. When anyone, as you said, Mark, even our adult, when we learn it in our adult further on in our careers, but we're arming, like we said, 19, 20-year-olds with this and the ability that they have to really push things forward and change their future is very exciting to us.
And you're, Ron and Angie, you're doing it too. So we have other universities, we've had other, we've had kids across the spectrum, usually some form of adult leadership oversight. I can't think of anyone else though who's actually rolled up their sleeves and like you and Angie, you and Ron worked on a Jay County challenge this year and created did the whole work and right. And so I'm curious, like, what did your students, what kind of reaction do you get when it's not just you're helping oversee them, but you're actually in it and you're going to take one on yourself and work on it? What kind of feedback do you get from your students on that?
This year, they kind of just looked at us like, what are you doing? We actually recorded a video for our submission. And-
Yeah, a few of them were there to watch the video. Another team was watching us create our video, which, as you know, we can be a little crazy on our video.
Goofy,
So
a little goofy. If you remember last year's video where Angie did the spin move, that was an award-winning spin move. So for the most part, I think they get. I don't know that they raise their eyebrows, to be honest. They see us. They see us break out tools in whiteboards and technology all the time to go solve a problem, and we'll do that for a few hours and then go away. So I don't know that they thought that was anything different for us. That's kind of status quo. We don't have a lot of administration versus students environment here. It's a very seamless environment, and you'll see us working alongside students all the time and taking on all kinds of crazy challenges.
yes, I would add that I think that any time that we can have our students seeing, that there are being taught skills is one thing. Utilizing them for the purposes of what is happening in the real world, real time, is another thing entirely. And so when they get to experience that this is not a joke, what you do at the Indiana Bond Bank with the Flipping Finance Challenge, these are real communities in our state, real time, seeking real possible solutions for real challenges that they are facing. I think that just puts on another flavor, so to speak, of what it means to learn innovation and problem solving skills. And so we love to inculcate that in what we do, is that we're not just teaching, like we said, they are using it and we are using it at all times. And that's what they experience all the time at French University.
Well, hello again. This is Mark Wimmer from the Indiana Bond Bank with another episode of the Indiana Bondcast, our podcast on all things public finance. And we are continuing our series on the Flipping Finance Challenge, which is our annual event related to innovation in public finance and creating solutions for sticky community challenges. And we are so thrilled to have Team CyberPunks with us today. They are all returning innovators, actually, to Flipping Finance Challenge 2022. And I hope we can kind of dig in to how they all found us and got here and why they keep coming back to join our bright smiling faces here at the Bond Bank. But Elisabeth, Darlesia, Ingrid, John, Jared, welcome. And maybe just so folks can get a sense of your different voices and who you are, don't mind going around introducing yourselves and when you're not doing a Civic Superhero Hackathon, what's your superpower in real life? Elisabeth, you want to start us out?
Hi, I'm Elisabeth. I am a change management specialist. So I help individuals through change. I've done that in both public sector and private sector. And I came to the Flipping Finance Challenge in 2020, looking to connect with other people that wanted help with public sector work.
I'll jump in next. My name is Jonathan Cook. Currently, I'm a legal services supervisor for the city of Indianapolis. It was 2020 as well, was my first year as a innovator, but have been a fan since the conception of the program or the event. And so I'm just happy to be back again for another year and looking forward to many more.
I'm Darlesia, and I am product manager of web design marketing. My other items are skater girl, and I also am a photographer. Got a couple of hats there. I also came in 2020. Actually, I think I found out about it maybe a couple of days before it was to launch, and I didn't know if I was too late because literally a couple of days. So I think I was hitting up everybody in the inbox that I could find in order to get there. And I ran into this crew and I didn't know what I was getting into, but it was just exciting.
Yeah, my name's Jared. I also joined Flipping Finance Challenge in 2020, and I fell in love with the concept, but also the people. It brings together a really awesome crowd. And when I'm not doing that, I am analyst in the energy industry, and I help develop renewable projects.
And my name is Ingrid. I first heard about flipping finance during your first event. The idea was just really interesting, and I've been going ever since because it's always really fun. You get to do and work on really interesting projects. And I'm super happy that I got to do it with this group this year. They're a lot of fun and they're all really hilarious. My superpower is data. I'm a data analyst at Salesforce, and pretty much all things data. It's right up my alley with my skill set.
Welcome all. Thank you. The unique thread I think about when I think about all of you is you each came unattached, I think, to a person the first time you did it, being super brave, not really knowing what the event was, and you've come together and formed this bond, or Ingrid, in your case, you've had different teams over the course of the years. What would you say to somebody who's looking at flipping finance, maybe can't get a buddy to come, is kind of on the fence? What do you say to somebody who isn't really sure if they want to go out kind of on their own and come to the event?
I'll jump right in. So it is a little intimidating at first, but what I can say is the second you walk it through that door, it is such a welcoming atmosphere and such a collaborative atmosphere that now, like coming into it, no, there was no group I was with the first year, and now it's like a family reunion every year. It's just awesome to get to see everybody in person again. And like this year, Ingrid joined with us. The first year Jared wasn't with us, and then he joined our group. So the group keeps expanding, and it's amazing from everybody from different walks of life just to get to come together and work together on a awesome challenge.
Sure. I'm an introvert by nature, and so it was really challenging for me to walk in the door and not know like what my challenge was going to be, my team was going to be. And I met with John and Darlesia, and it's like, this was a really good experience. We had a lot of fun. Everybody was playing to their superpowers, so it was amazing to see our final product after spending either the hackathon time or that sprint planning time to see what our final project was.
Yeah, I've had a different group or person every year, and I would say that I never really know who I'm gonna partner with or what I'm gonna do. Just kind of show up and hear what each of the towns are doing and naturally gravitate towards people that are interested in similar topics. So it's spontaneous, I would say.
What I enjoy most is getting with a group of like-minded people with all different skill sets and working together to create a really unique product. And also, if you're still on the fence about it, IBB has the best swag bags in the game.
We do.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Very true. I have to agree with everyone. If you're on the fence, like I'm a person that's very much so a community advocate. So seeing people of like-mindedness around my age group as well. And I mean, we have such a diverse age group. It's great to see innovators just come together. There's no reason to be on the fence. Nobody really knows what the heck they're doing. We just kind of all get in there and you just kind of figure it out. So that's always exciting to me.
That is fantastic. I remember, Ingrid, vividly the first year talking to you. It's like we were walking from one breakout to another or something. I was kind of like amazed, like, how did you find us and what made you say yes? Because we believed like there was this community of people out there who wanted to do this, but especially the first year, you just never know until you host the event. And we're fully prepared for like 3 people to show up, right? And just this was a good idea on paper, but then Ingrid showed up and 30 to 40 other like-minded people, and this year we grew to I think 79 or 80 innovators, and it just keeps growing. So we're so thankful that you have said yes, continue to say yes, and bring others. So
if I could jump in right there, Mark, you guys have created an event that, like, if people are on the fence about coming in, you truly can bring yourself to the event. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be somebody with a doctorate or somebody that's in public finance as your daily job. I would actually say people who aren't your typical innovators are typically do this line of work on a daily basis, you bring the most to the table because you're bringing that out of box thinking that may not have been thought of before. So kudos to you guys for creating such a great event.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. Go ahead. Whoever's going to jump in there. I stepped on somebody. Okay. Well, yeah, thank you. It's we really wanted to make it for, ordinary Hoosiers who have their own unique super talents. Like this team, so diverse in terms of skill sets. And I didn't hear anybody say they work in a bank or work in public finance. And we've encouraged our communities to be very broad about what they consider a public finance challenge, because everything needs a funding source. Everything goes to the greater community good. And if you're able to bring a solution, even that doesn't require money, that frees up money for them to do maybe a park or another project, right? So we take kind of a very big tent approach to public finance, and obviously we wouldn't be turning the state upside down. So one of the things I loved is like you've used Tableau. I think I saw TikTok, design thinking concepts. Gosh, I mean, you go out and find existing resources. Your presentations run the gamut of kind of everything. What's your process? How do you, I'd love to kind of get inside your heads, like in that room, in that time, how do you go about solving the problem and then, using all those resources to create a solution?
I think like just picking our community challenge, we were drawn to everything, but then knowing that like Ingrid's amazing at data, and John enjoys doing the TikTok social media, coming up with the skits. Darlesia is amazing at marketing. We're kind of thinking about those different superpowers and those connectivity concepts of like, okay, what's our best option that we're passionate about and how can we bring that in? And so we kind of know those little bits and pieces are going to be in that final presentation, or like Jared and I love to research and do the project management side. Like we're going to make sure this is successful. So those are some of the pieces that we consistently bring back when we're working together.
I think everyone in the group is also really open to just all ideas. And it's usually whenever we're brainstorming that we start to form, if you're thinking of an outline, we start to form kind of what A, B, C, D, E, all of those things are. And then fleshing out the details underneath them, that kind of comes with, time, and everyone kind of handles things that they're more drawn to or more interested in. Darlesia is amazing at Canva. I did not know that Canva could do so many cool things. I've just used it to make like posters, and she made that presentation rock.
Well, thank you, Ingrid. I don't know. We had the whole theme, heroes, and it's just things just start going off in my brain, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna make this happen. So I don't know. It's fun to me. When we originally, so 2020, when we got together, I'm literally in the room and I'm like, man, these are geniuses. They know all of this stuff and pulling these things. Where in the heck do I fit in at? And being able to pull something together in a visual aspect, because I'm super visual, and see that it was like super appreciated, I guess. It was really nice. Like, it was just nice to find that I have a tribe that I can fit in.
I think everyone brings something unique to the table. And when you're in an office or a workplace, you can kind of see the same thing day in, day out. That's my favorite part, is coming to a group like this where we all collaborate and bring new things and new concepts and new programs to the table. And then I get to learn about that and be exposed to things that better my own work when I come back to the office.
I kind of want to go back to what I think Ingrid said. Is I think the biggest thing for us when we're working on a challenge is you come in with an open mind. Like, nothing's off the table when you first start, and the sky's the limit, and we try and put as much down on paper as we can initially, and then kind of hone it into the final point of our presentation, and then just playing to our strengths and weaknesses as we go along. I like doing goofy TikToks, so, and can't have all work with no fun, so we opened with the goofy TikTok. So
absolutely
a collaborative atmosphere.
It's funny. I had a chance to talk to a mentor recently, and he said, when I'm forming a team, I look at, I think about my skills like in a circle, creating Venn diagrams. And my goal is to always have as little overlap between the circles as possible. Like where we've got, for him, I'm very good quantitatively, don't love the business development side, but I bring somebody in who like, so as long as we have those little overlaps, and you guys make me think of that because you are all, I'm sure there is a lot of overlap in terms of empathy, civic pride, the reasons you're here, but in terms of technical skills, you couldn't have a much more diverse team that complements each other. So kudos to that. Maybe Elisabeth, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you were on our first ever steering committee for the event this year. And so kind of got the behind the scenes, behind the curtain, not just help putting it on, but also help like really helping us reformulate what the event looked like this year, moving from 18 hours to a longer design sprint time, among other changes this year. How did that impact your work then as an innovator? What did you think of the steering committee process? Pull us behind the scenes a little bit on that.
I really enjoyed being part of the steering committee. Again, coming in 2020, became very passionate about the event and wanting to support that. And having the opportunity to be on the committee allowed me to get some feedback in there. I know I was talking with John and Darlesia and Jared before I had really pulled Ingrid in to be like, oh, what do you think about this? Like if we're going to do a hackathon versus a longer sprint. We've all had kind of that conversation of like, now that we've done both formats, what do we like? But just hearing the different steering committee members and their influences in finance, in the connections to the universities, and seeing how we're going to shape things, having those brainstorming sessions of like, who should we contact and advertise to? Should we do this format in person versus virtual was really interesting to kind of see that take shape, and then that we tested it and we're going to get feedback and be like, oh, we're going to do this again, and we're going to do something else. So I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to hopefully being on the committee again, and I hope others will be too.
Yeah, we would love to have you back on the committee and open invite for sure. So yeah, lay it on me. You have all seen it, the 18-hour overnight in its infancy. We've seen it now, the 2-week phase, which is really 1 week of innovation time. And I guess because you had to, we all saw it virtually last year with the pandemic. So individually, what did you think? What would your vote be for 2023 or something totally different? Because we don't need anything else to do, right? Other than to reformulate the event one more time.
I think because I work in design sprints and my job is like change management attached to IT, I thought I was okay with it. But I realized as a working professional, it was very challenging. And we even had a set cadence for our meetings and kind of like what our internal work was for like how we assign things. And I just really struggled with that week-long option versus dedicated, hackathon style where, Darlesia and I may be napping under the table the next time, but we like that dedicated time to be like, yes, we're going to be doing the solution then.
Yeah. I'd say I definitely agree with Ingrid. I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness, why am I going crazy? Anyways, I agree. And when it comes to trying to make it work with the work schedule, it was a big juggling act. And I'm in a small community. So around the time it kind of gets complacent, I need to jump off a cliff. So going and doing that sprint helps me fulfill that jump off a cliff feeling that I need. So yes, it's going to pull everything out of me, but I truly enjoy being in the atmosphere with everybody for that quick time and just pushing myself, giving it all.
I like the 18 hours as well. Everyone here has, full-time job, responsibilities. I think everyone pretty much has kids. I have school, so I don't have any children, but I do have school. And so it was just a lot of balancing and reshuffling schedules, which made it a little bit challenging.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, we will take, as we said, we've got survey results coming in. We'll share those out with the steering committee and anyone really who wants to see those. And yeah, we're curious to see what kind of feedback we get about the 18 hours versus the overnight. And so, and from the communities as well, I think hearing from them, was the quality of solutions impacted? I think my initial have heard it's kind of, from those who participated in the past, between Jay and Jasper, kind of a net neutral. Like they didn't necessarily see that solutions this year were like that much more in depth or robust, still very good. But if you'd kind of thrown them up in the air and said which ones were done in 18 hours and which ones were done over a week, couldn't necessarily tell. They were just both very good. And so did the extra time really benefit, or was it just the same number of hours just spread out over, right, 4 days or something like that? So there's a lot to think about.
And I like the innovator options where we had like the lunch and learn opportunities, if those could fit with schedules. Like that was a nice add-on to still kind of have our community of innovators and like learning different things, and then also interacting with our community a little bit more, like seeing what they were judging on or asking if those following questions. So it was nice.
Nice. Any other, how about a favorite highlight of your process in 2022? Take us behind, you've gone behind the bond bank curtain. Take us behind your curtain. Any good laughs or suitable for podcast memories you want to share before we wrap this up?
It is never dull with John. Never, ever. Like, I think the TikToks are always my favorite because I don't think in that form, again, very analytical and like going through the project, and John just brings that levity and that enjoyment where we get to have fun with our solutions. So I always like seeing what he gets scripted for his recordings. It's amazing.
I just enjoy making people laugh, and it also nothing wrong with putting your challenge track owner in the good mood and good spirits before you get to the meat of the solution.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all. Thank you, Team CyberPunks. Great name even to start with. Elisabeth, Ingrid, Darlesia, John, Jared, and thanks for joining us, for participating in Flipping Finance Challenge, for sharing your thoughts, hopefully inspiring others to join us in 2023. And as always, what I love about this is now we get to connect and talk throughout the year. It's not just, I don't just see once a year. It's this is amazing for us, for me particularly too, like just the community that we've created, and hopefully the relationships we've formed. They're really important to me, and so hopefully you as well. And anyway, thanks for listeners. Thanks for listening to the Bondcast and our another episode of Flipping Finance Innovator Highlights. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and join us next time for another interview with another group of Flipping Finance Challenge innovators. Until then, this is Mark Wollner for the Bond Bank saying take care. Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Wollner, the Executive Director of the Indiana Bond Bank and host of your Indiana Bondcast, welcoming you back to another episode of the Bondcast and our mini series now of Flipping Finance Challenge 2022 Innovators. And we are so thrilled to be joined by a returning innovator, Michelle Guricza. Michelle, welcome.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, it's my pleasure. And we were just joking ahead of time that like your life is crazy busy with everything, and yet you still chose to come back to Flipping Finance Challenge this year. You were with us last year. What brought you back? Why'd you squeeze it in? What was the motivating factor to come back this year?
Well, I was first introduced to the Flipping Finance Challenge 2 years ago, and I wasn't participating as an innovator. I was there kind of as a sponsor, and I was honestly so upset when I left. I was like, I should have stayed. I had other things that I had to do that night, but I was so drawn to it and wanted to stay and wanted to like try to problem solve that night. So when it came up last year, I was really excited to do it. And it was that cool new format where we had the game board and kind of the different hidden challenges. So last year was really fun. And I was able to kind of pull in my like marketing knowledge to bring a solution to one of the small towns here in Indiana, and was really drawn back to it this year. I just recently started a new job, so I wasn't certain that I'd be able to have time to come back to it, but I was peeking it through the solutions and saw the cybersecurity one, and I was like, I have some ideas here. So I just need to block out some time, put my head down and bring a solution. And I managed to somehow do it at the very last minute.
You did. And it was well done. And that is the cybersecurity, like it's kind of a big, scary elephant to eat, especially if you're not wired for ones and zeros and coding. And not that you're not, I'm certainly not, but would love to know like what drew you? It sounds like that challenge like just drew you right to it. What was the attraction to that challenge?
So a few years ago, I was working for a tech company in Indy, and they had just recently started the cybersecurity startup. I got very close with the man in charge, Scott Coleman, who is just phenomenal. I mean, he's so knowledgeable, and he's so articulate when he's explaining the different pieces of cybersecurity and how they get in there. So when I first started, he and I spent a lot of time together where he was explaining like who these people are, how do they get into your environment, what things do companies need to do in order to protect themselves, and really trying to educate me so I could educate others working in marketing. When I saw this challenge, it made me think back at my time there and the things that I saw. People really understood cybersecurity and its need when they were in the room for like lunch and learns and able to ask questions, dig into things that just don't quite make sense with cybersecurity, because the hardest problem is believing that there is an issue. It feels so imaginary because it's happening in the back end of computers, and you may not even know that it ever happened until somebody from HR or something comes up and says, you clicked on a phishing thing and now everybody's locked out. And hearing all of the real life examples of like city of Baltimore that lost millions and millions of dollars from getting locked out of their system and refusing to pay the ransom and not being able to collect like ticket fees and things like that. So having all those real life examples, I realized that everything clicked for me right away, and I was able to teach people because I had that level of understanding. When I saw the challenge, I realized that the problem wasn't with the techniques, it was having to change that human behavior of really understanding that there's a problem, understanding that you can be a part of the solution, and then forming a habit by not only telling them you have this responsibility to protect this government office and here's X, Y, and Z that you have to do, but bringing it into their personal lives as well. Of here's the ways that you can be protecting you and your family, and daily habits that you can start of updating your passwords, using a password protector, using passphrases, multi-factor authenticator, paying for a separate VPN, all different things that you can be doing. So that way it's something that they think about in their daily lives instead of, I did my cybersecurity training for an hour online 6 months ago, and I can't tell you what's different.
Wow. And it's amazing how you brought that human behavior part of it to really what, can be an overly technical click through the little training slide deck and make sure you don't do the bad things. But and bringing it to the real life example, that's fabulous. So you've talked about marketing and just telling stories or framing problems in a way that really people can relate to. I know you do a lot of that in your real life, but for folks who are watching, want to know more about Michelle, what are your superpowers outside of flipping finance civic superheroes?
So I'm a marketing consultant. I just started at a brand new firm here in Indianapolis called Bohu Digital. We are a digital marketing consultancy. So we work primarily with either private equity owned businesses or their investment firms, and are working to really facilitate change. Bohu comes from the word, the biblical word, so creating order out of chaos. So we get really complex business problems to solve that a lot deal with marketing, but can span into other parts of the business, and are working in a fractional CMO capacity to really affect change and drive growth in these companies.
Wow, that is amazing. They're lucky to have you. So glad, congratulations on that change. And we hope you've seen this event in its overnight format when you were sponsoring and just attending for that first bit. Back in 19, that was February of 19. We just snuck by the skin of our teeth there, didn't we? And then last year, or I've got my years wrong, that was 20, February of 20. Oh my gosh. And then 21 last year was, like you said, the virtual board game format. And then this year was more of an expanded solution time for folks. And I'm glad we did, because we allowed somebody like you who maybe had a day or a 2-day span within that week could jump in. So would love your feedback, put you on the spot. Overnight, virtual, this year's like hybrid kickoff, live kickoff, virtual solution. What'd you like, or what should we try next?
I don't know about what you should try next. I am going to say that this year was probably my most preferred. Last year's board game is really, really cool and a fun experience. but I have to tell you, I was so tired, so tired by the award ceremony. When our team was called, I was like, wait, what?
That's
Am
me.
I dreaming? Am I dreaming? Did that happen? But this time it was much more relaxed, to where I didn't feel as pressured, and I was like contemplating whether or not I had time, and I was like, just sit down and do it. And I did it, and I'm very glad that I did. Even if, you know, my solution isn't chosen, at least, you know, that thought is there and shared and gives a different perspective of how to solve that problem.
What an amazing answer. Thank you for that, Michelle. And thank you for joining Flipping Finance Challenge. And to our listeners, thanks for listening to another episode of the Indiana Bondcast and our Flipping Finance Challenge 2022 mini-series. We will interview another set of innovators here very soon. Take care. Well, hello again. It's Mark Wollner, Executive Director of the Indiana Bond Bank, welcoming you to another Indiana Bondcast, our public finance podcast. Again, covering all things public finance. And this mini-series, we are talking about our Flipping Finance Challenge, which is the Bond Bank's annual event where we foster innovation in public finance for the benefit of communities around the state of Indiana. And with us today is a returning innovator to Flipping Finance Challenge, and also someone who helped join the steering committee and put this event on this year, Matt Young. Matt, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here.
Oh, Matt, it's great to have you. Matt is a divisional finance and business manager at JP Morgan Chase when he's not doing Flipping Finance. Matt, I'd love to just hear, so you were with us, I think, for the first time virtually last year due to the pandemic. Yeah. You won the most turnkey solution for your solution last year. Came back this year live. I guess what got you into it? What brought you back? What was the biggest difference between last year and this year? Whichever way you want to go with that.
Yeah, I mean, I love the whole concept of helping to innovate communities and help them solve problems. Like that was like literally my dream, was just to help people solve problems. And the fact that you packaged it up in such a neat event where I could do that saved me all of the like time and trouble of having to go to a bunch of different towns and try and like figure out how I can be helpful. So yeah, I love the vision for it. I initially saw the ad for Knightstown, and that's close to where I grew up in Greenfield, New Palestine area. So that was kind of close to home. But man, that first Flipping Finance Challenge was crazy, because I believe it was 18 hours. Yep. So I remember it was just a dead sprint, like talk with the towns, pick whichever challenge you could like actually put together a good product for. And then I worked until 2 to 3 in the morning, and then woke up, recorded my solution, and then like we were going at like 10 in the morning. So I was out of it for the next couple of days, just kind of catching up. So yeah, that was like, I loved the first experience. Second experience was different, and we made some changes on the steering committee just with the structure. And I think that really changed how people should approach the challenges. Like just hearing the winners and the comments based around the winners, it seems like having a whole week adds in this factor of relationship management with the communities. Ooh. So each community brought up like, yeah, they were whoever won had a lot of communication and developed that relationship so that their solution was on version 10 to 15, whereas in the first or the previous Flipping Finance Challenge, I was maybe on version 2 or 3, and that was as far as we could go because of time. So yeah, I think that was probably the biggest change that changed just how the game was played.
Fantastic. And I saw you this year, you picked, I think, a pretty complicated challenge. Was the time, like the availability of more time, was that a factor in your selection of, hey, I think I've got a little more time, I can dive in deeper on this one?
Yeah, I think it definitely did. I had a crazy busy week, so it actually turned in more to a 24-hour sprint. So I'm excited for next year when hopefully it won't turn out that way. But it definitely did factor into it. You can take on some more challenging issues. And like I said, it gives you the opportunity to develop a relationship with the challenge owners. And I think looking forward, that's probably what I would focus in on next year.
You mentioned, being kind of behind the scenes. Our steering committee got together for the first time this year, where the bond bank for the first 3 years had really lifted this, created the vision, put this on, and we were so thankful that you came in to give us feedback, and others came in to give us feedback to continue to make the event evolving, meeting the needs of not only the communities, but folks like you, professional students who want to get involved. What was your perspective like behind the curtain? How do you feel like, how do you feel like steering committee did this year, and where do you see it going?
Yeah, I mean, I think I learned a lot just from being in the room with a lot of talented and diverse individuals, like from a lot of different sectors. So for me professionally, it was great for me just to be in the room and just gain that experience, because I always look at things and I have ideas on how to make it better. But then I think where you can really learn a lot is, and where it gets really difficult, is actually enacting those changes and getting other people's buy-in. So it was very interesting to see where we started, where I thought the challenge was going to go, and then how, that changes as more people add in, and as it evolves, it becomes its own thing. So I loved the learning opportunity, and just getting to meet all of those great people and work with them. I hope you bring us back for next year, because I think we could continue to grow it, and it's super fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, we would love to. And it's neat. And some of the early returns, which we'll share with you on the feedback survey from Flipping Finance Challenge, we've had a couple of new folks raise their hand and say, much like you did last year, this was really cool. I'd love to continue to have my fingerprints involved in this, both on the innovating side and the planning side. So we will take that, because it makes us better. It'd be very easy for us to just roll the same event out every year, but we love to keep it fresh. So
yeah.
You mentioned a little bit about diversity, like that diversity of thought and background and experience. And one of the things I've noticed with you, Matt, and looking at what you've done in work, and especially in volunteering, like you seem to have like a very intentional mindset of like lifting up the diversity and inclusivity of what you do, and sharing your skills with maybe groups who are not traditionally, don't have that exposure and that experience, whether it's through the Touchdowns program or your analyst program alumni work. If you're comfortable, I'd love to hear maybe one of those. Tell us more about one of those experiences, or both of them, and what you do and what you hope to accomplish with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the simplest way that I can describe that, there's a verse in the Bible. It talks like those who have, like, if you freely received, then you should freely give. And that's just something that, like, when I look back, I've freely received a lot of things from a lot of great people. And I love being a part of that chain where you can impact somebody's life. And I think once you feel that impact, it just kind of gets addicting. Like I love to do it with Touchdown Careers, where I help international Chinese students break into the American market for jobs and grad school. I love doing it at JP Morgan Chase. I'm involved with some of their diversity and inclusion programs. And then also in college, like in my ministry, I discipled a couple of guys, and we just had a reunion, and it's crazy to see the impact that you can have on a group of people that you don't know just by investing in like a few people. So it's addicting to me. Like I love it. So.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, we need more Matt Youngs in the world, because you're not one. Until we just got to know each other a little bit better, you're not out there talking about that or bragging on yourself. So I'm glad we could kind of lift you up here and maybe inspire a few other folks to do something similar. Share your gifts. It's as you said, the payback is tenfold to what you put in.
So much, yeah.
Okay, so let me put you on the spot. What would you like to see us do next year with Flipping Finance Challenge? Give us a sneak peek of what you'll tell us on the steering committee. Where should we go? Where should we take this?
I feel like this last one, I feel like we got the right formula for the layout.
Okay.
So I think the layout is strong. I think where there can be improvements is probably more so just in getting to sharing information about the challenges beforehand, maybe so that people can experience them.
Yeah.
I'm ambitious. I always wanted to like go out to a community before the Flipping Finance Challenge and see it. I live in Ohio, so that's like not really feasible at this point. But so I think that that's probably where I would want to focus more on is the relationship with the challenge owners. How can we better prepare innovators ahead of time? How can we give them a taste of like what they're working with? That way you have more buy-in. But then also the thing that I'm always really curious about is the actual impact, right? So I gave you a solution 6 months, 12 months down the line, what does it look like? And I think we're still pretty early on in the evolution of flipping finance. But I think when we get a couple of years down the line and you have so many different solutions, so many different ideas just growing in communities, I think that there could be a really cool event where you really wrap it all together and say, here's the actual impact of this event. Because I know Jasper always brings that up, that they take a little idea from everybody and they wrap it up and they incorporate it. So yeah, that's personally, like selfishly as an innovator, that's what I'd love to see is just how can I get closer to the challenge owners?
I love that. I think the communities would welcome that wholeheartedly, right? They would love to see you before the event on the front end, because it's easier to create more meaningful solutions if you've walked the streets or seen the park in question or the intersection that needs that financial tool. Right, how do you get people from one side of town to the other, whatever the challenge may be, and then afterwards, right, that just continuing that virtuous cycle of seeing your work impacting the actual community. I love it. I'm sign me up for that vision, Matt. So that's fantastic. Thank you again for your participation, for finding us 2 years ago, for joining us from Ohio, making the trek over this year, and for making communities within Indiana robust and strong. So thank you, Matt. And again, thanks for joining us here on the Bondcast.
Thank you.
Awesome. So for the Indiana Bondcast, this is Mark Wollner signing off for Matt Young, the Divisional Finance and Business Manager for JP Morgan Chase. And in this context, he is a flipping finance innovator, award-winning innovator, and also on our steering committee for flipping finance. So until next time with our next interview with another set of innovators, take care and talk soon. Hello, welcome to another episode of the Indiana Bondcast with your host, Mark Wollner, on behalf of the Bond Bank. It is your podcast for all things public finance, state of Indiana, and local government related. And today we continue our mini series of Flipping Finance Challenge Innovating Teams. And this episode, we have no money, no problems. We got 3/5 of the team, Kate Wampler, Holly Serban, and Ashley Martin joining us. Welcome, team. How are you?
Hello. Great. Thanks for having us.
Hey, so excited to have you. And I should mention they are the winner of the inaugural Treasurer of the State Award for Innovation in Public Finance, the Best in Show Award. So congrats, team. That was awesome. Thanks for joining us.
We're very excited to be the winners.
Yeah, it was great. If folks haven't watched the closing ceremony or snippets from that, just the reaction that you all had when you won was priceless. So it really meant a lot to us as the event host to see the impact that it had on you. So thank you. And you worked on a Jay County challenge. I'm curious, maybe even stepping back, like how you found the event and why you weren't scared off by the words finance or bond or bank or any of those big scary words.
Ashley, you have a big smile on your face.
I know. Well, Holly found it. So she got the rest of us involved.
Nice. So Holly, yeah.
Yeah, it was in the, as a state employee, we have a couple newsletters. And so we had, there was an article in the Around the Circle newsletter that mentioned the challenge, and I'm a bit of a clicker when it comes to links. So I started digging around in it to figure out exactly what was going on with it, and it just seemed very intriguing. So I think that the finance part didn't scare me away because I had dug into a little bit more about it and realized that that it was going to be okay. And so I sent an email out to everybody in my division to see if anybody wanted to join, and I got some takers.
I was on the other side. I didn't actually join with Holly and Ashley and the rest of the team. I came alone thinking I would be a sole innovator, and then I found coworkers and thought, okay, this is gonna work. But I write the newsletters that Holly read. So I saw it in there and was putting it together and saw the word innovation. I was like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, Holly sent it out, and I like competition and winning. So yeah, I'll join. What could be more fun?
I want to make sure we welcome Sam James. Sam, also on the team. Sam, welcome to the podcast, the Bondcast. We were talking about how you found the event and what made you say yes for your first time.
Well, Holly's enthusiasm, honestly. I got the email as well, but I hadn't read it until Holly came over, really thrilled that she just signed up. And I was like, maybe I could participate too. So I just kind of jumped in then because I thought it would be an interesting experience that would be like a great bonding experience, if nothing else. Haha, get it? Bonding for the bonding program.
I will take that.
Yeah.
And I
That's
think it really was. None of us, I know a lot of you work together, but I didn't know really any of you except for Ashley. And like I feel like we came out of it with real friendships. So like I'm glad to have gotten to know you guys like outside of work and to like contribute to something together.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Kate was there with her camera, and I was like, well, why don't you join our team?
The skills we need.
Yes.
And boy, it paid off. Kate's got some great skills.
That is fantastic. And how did it live up to your expectations? So let's set, I wish we had done this before you won, because I know winning helps everything. To Ashley's point, like she's competitive, she got what she came for, but for everybody else, like, what did you think of the event? Did it live up, Holly, to what you hoped for initially when you read about it, and Kate, when you signed up as a solo?
Yeah, absolutely. It was so well organized, and there were so many people there and participating on that first day. And I thought it was a great setup. From my understanding, this was the first year that it was set up the way that we had the timeline that we did, that had been different in the past. But I really enjoyed the setup, and the communication was fantastic. Looping everybody in with the channels on Slack. I thought it was great, and getting to meet other people and learn about the challenge owners. Having that experience was really great, to learn about other communities. That really fascinates me. So that, I mean, it far exceeded my expectations for an event like this. So
I was excited from the moment I walked in. That morning, I actually wondered, like, do I really want to go? I know I'm committed. I'm super tired. And I thought like I was running late. I got there at 10 o'clock on the dot, and I walked in, and you hosted it in an arts gallery. And that was the perfect environment to create the energy that you wanted with that group of people. And so you walk in, and before the thing even starts, your brain is already primed to create something new. And so I thought, like, from the moment I walked in, I saw like all of these young people like just looking at sculptures and paintings and quotes on the wall. I was like, okay, this is where I want to be.
Nice. Nice. Thank you. I want to talk a little bit about your solutions. You worked on J County, and you worked on youth engagement, and you took like some really serious topics and about, environments that create wellness and just engagement of youth. And yet you communicated it and you connected with your audience in a really fun and exciting way. Can you talk a little bit about like you're taking heavy topics and yet communicating and connecting in ways that really relate to an audience?
I feel like Kate had great. I mean, she's in communication. She is fantastic at it. So she came to us with a couple news article clippings that she'd created before we had the whole video concept down. And we're like, oh, this is great. This is the direction we want to go. And Jay County in their presentation were, they were really fun and kind of goofy. So we thought that's great. We can do that. That is us to a T. So it helped that we could match their style a little in our solution video. But Kate, you did so much for that, for sure.
I think it's true that we all have a little bit of a goofy side, and seeing Jay County take the lead and go all the way in with capes and masks, it's just like, okay, cool. We can lean all the way into, and it's probably going to be well received. So
that is fantastic. Yes, and some of our early, you see some of our early promotional videos for Flipping Finance Challenge. They're a little bit off the wall. So yeah, this event is all very self-deprecating, all funny, and yeah, you totally nailed it. So I'm curious, like, did you know coming in, this is what we're working on, and this is the challenge we all want to do, and have a quick consensus, or was there no? I see a lot of head shaking. No. What was that process like? Was that day of at the kickoff you decided, or did you noodle on that later? Like, how did that come together?
I think we all came in with like our own ideas of which projects would be the most exciting to tackle.
Okay.
And then after the presentation, I think we were all very charmed by Jay County's whole demeanor and presentation of their issues. We spent like most of the lunch period trying to figure out which project we could tackle. And eventually I think we settled on, well, we can do 3 of them under the same umbrella.
Yeah, I think we pretty quickly turned down anything with finance, like true finance. And I think Holly for a second dabbled with the idea, like the problem about the bus fuel and getting people in that program.
Yeah.
And then we also realized we don't really have enough time to fully understand anything of that program. So this felt like a good option that we could quickly grasp and we were passionate about and could find good, we thought good, solutions that were realistic and not super expensive.
Oh, that's really, really cool. And yeah, we believe in like a very big kind of behind the curtains of bond bank. I believe like very big tent of public finance. Like it can be like if this was a pure dollars and cents hackathon, it would probably get 5 people and it would be very boring. And like, it's not that. I mean, the thing about like the parks we play on, the streets you drive on, like when you flush the toilet or run the water, like that's all funded by something the schools your kids go to. And like, so we take a very big tent approach to like public finance is just community development with a financial lens. And so we encourage our communities to be very broad. Like when we kind of pre-consult with them and, they start with like, here's 100 things. We help them like brainstorm 100 things they've got challenges or opportunities on, and they crunch down to those 5 or 6 of like where they could really use help. We really don't ever say, well, it's not really finance or that's not, because everything has, right? If we can do your solution well, then there's opportunities to build, right? Maybe new schools or new parks or new playgrounds. So we just see it as an interconnected ecosystem. And so we love you coming in and having solutions that don't cost anything. It's all the better for the community. So sorry, I'm supposed to be interviewing you, but I'm just talking. So
that was the hard part for us. Maybe because they started as maybe so many things that had to get narrowed down, and I don't know if they got grouped together more, they overlap. And like the finance side of it definitely weaves into like, okay, well, like you have young people and you're teaching them entrepreneurial skills and you're teaching them like how to like engage in civic service. Like then when they grow up and they already have those connections, then they're going to be that much more likely to engage with the community that's already there. They're going to be that much likely to, start a business because they already know other business owners. So all of this is super intertwined. And that was kind of the piece that we really had to pull apart to get down to like, okay, this is the one challenge we're going to do and focus on young people. And then hopefully we'll see that as this program builds, rippling out into the small business development in the downtown areas.
You nailed it. It's very, very much, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, very much interconnected domino effect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also really important that folks consider the options that don't cost a lot of money first. If you start with those creative solutions that don't cost money and build out from there, then you're going to be able to make the dollars that you do have go a lot further. And so it's about thinking outside the box and going, okay, well, what can we do? Let's start with no cost or low cost options, and then you can build from there. And then, like Kate said, if you've got entrepreneurs that are learning skills for free or low cost, then they're bringing money and business to the community, and that just grows their financial backing that they can use to get bigger and better.
Oh, for sure. And it's all about identity in that too, of like, you have to see yourself as part of the community. And like, the one thing that we have in life that's almost tangible is our relationships with people. And relationships, the nature of them is free. Like, there's no cost to that. We invest in each other back and forth, but knowing somebody and, you know, helping them and then helping you, teaching them and them teaching you, like, that's free. And that's one of the most important things that we have, like, in our lives, in our worlds, in our communities. And that's the core of like good relationships, healthy communities, healthy small towns, and then also business. So it's a lot of those things, but investing in somebody else essentially doesn't cost money. It's just getting people connected and showing people what a caring identity, what a caring community looks like. And that takes a lot of energy to get started.
You talk about, Kate, I think that is right. And that's really, I guess, the essence of flipping finance too. We, I don't know if we intentionally started it like this, but it ends up being, how do you build relationships for communities, right? Communities you may have never heard of before you walked in the room on Saturday the 9th, right? And then now care deeply about what happens in Jay County and those communities. So it is really cool. It doesn't cost anything. And, Holly, I remember kind of at the closing, one of the things you said is like listening to that generation and building those leaders and how important that is. And I don't know if any of you want to tackle like leadership and building that generation. It was like a big theme for me that came through. I don't know if you want to tackle like why it is so important to build that world full of leaders.
Well, they have big ideas, but somebody has to give them a voice, right? I mean, nobody's giving them that voice. And if they don't get that, then you're not going to have them filling those roles, and you're not going to have them as your succession plan, right? So one of the things that really stood out when we were talking to Jay County, at least to me, is I was talking to a gentleman who's on the county council, and he went, I'm 41. There's another person who's in their 40s, and everyone else is like, 60, 70 years old. We have nobody, and we have nobody else engaging. And so then what happens, things start to collapse, systems start to collapse. And we looked at their demographics, and there was this giant divide, right, between 40 plus. He was absolutely right, that from 40 plus, and then 18 and below, right? So that we recognize that they were leaving and not coming back. And so then what do the youth in the town, who's guiding them, who's building them up, if all the people right before them who should be there to mentor them are leaving? We all remember what it was like, right? We're not going to listen to the older folks or the parents. We want people that are closer to our age, that are our mentors. And so it's just about giving them the voice, and then they want to lead in the future as well.
I think that was well said.
Go ahead, Ashley.
Well said. I agree with all of that. I think it is hard. The young people, if you don't have that platform, you don't feel like people want to listen to you, you could have a lot of great ideas and just no one supporting you to put them out there. And the older generations might just, maybe they think, you know, what does the youth want to do? We're old, we're boring, or, you know, it can help to tie together so everybody realizes they have the same goals in mind and different maybe paths of getting there, but that collaboration can help.
We have the way that, from my perspective, the world that I see is like we base like what we are allowed to do based on qualifications. But a lot of people, like when all of us are looking at this whole elephant, I suppose, from a different perspective. So like if one of us can see right through to the piece that needs to be connected and that person can connect it, we need to give these people voices. So like the important thing that I see in all of this is building an identity. So like for an example, I was super blessed to grow up with an older brother who was like strong and passionate. And he told me as I was growing up, he was like, you're a leader. He's like, you're going to change the world. But because he kept telling me that, like eventually I started to believe like, okay, like, you know, like the voice that I have of this, I could do something with it. And he said that about my sister, you know, like, oh yeah, like she's really digging into this. Like she's going to be a shaker too. And he kept speaking that identity into us. And he created a group of people around him that had that identity of leaders because he kept telling them they were leaders. And so like, if we can do that for another group of people and we say like, hey, like you guys are leaders. In theory, there's nothing that is special about being a leader. But if you don't believe that you are, you can't lead. So like if you build this and you say like, hey, like you guys are the next generation of leaders, and then you continue to equip them with the skills that back that up, 3 or 4 years down the road, they'll look back and go like, oh yeah, I do see myself becoming a leader. And like that identity wasn't there in the beginning, but you keep telling them that and you keep reinforcing it. And eventually they'll look back and go like, oh yeah, I could do something. When you're a kid and you're going through the motions, you don't see that you're powerful. You're just going to school and getting a grade and hoping someday you can maybe go to college or go to trade school and then do what you want to do. But if you can leverage that now, you've got a bunch of minds that have so many different perspectives that can solve all these problems and fill in the missing pieces. They just have to know, like Holly was saying, they just have to know that they can have a platform that they can speak.
That's amazing, Kate. So let's pick in our heads like we're at Flipping Finance Challenge 2023, whenever that is. Where do you see this solution being like a year from now with Jay County? Is this something you guys are talking, you're still talking to them about the solution? Where are you guys at, do you think, in a year or so when the next event rolls around?
I would hope it's something that has started to some degree, you know. I'm sure it takes time to make it into the full plan, but if it's something that, you know, starts in the high school, has some footing, gets kids involved so that it can build. We had always thought kind of start it in the high school and then move it down into the middle school, you know, get the kids earlier before. I mean, in rural communities, if you're doing something good, you're probably doing something bad. So get them before they can fall into bad habits or be tempted. So.
Fantastic. And for the folks listening to the podcast, just a reminder, these are state of Indiana employees. So these are my peers, super cool people who work for the state in the public sector, doing good work every day. And they came on their own time to come to Flipping Finance Challenge and make the world an even better place. And I'd love to kick it to one of you, Kate, Holly, Sam, or Ashley, to tell anybody listening, if they want to get involved with a team like yours or work for the state, how should they find state jobs, or just how to get engaged if you're looking for, either coming out of school looking for a mission-driven organization, or you're not satisfied with what you're doing now in your career and want to work for somewhere that does some good. How would they get involved with the state of Indiana?
I thought Holly would
I'm
jump
going to go
in.
with that. I have plenty of positions open.
Reading of the
So
resumes.
Google work for Indiana, and go out there and look at all the state jobs. So the thing is, if you really like to help people, there is, I guarantee it, a job out there on the state state of Indiana jobs webpage that is in some area that you have a passion for. There are so many interesting jobs and passions just sitting out there that I had no idea existed before I started working for state government. So I'd say just get in there and peruse, look around. There are over 100 different state agencies. Some have thousands of state employees and some have just a few. So you can really get in anywhere, but the key is that every single state agency is there to serve others. And if you like to help people, then the big picture is when you work for state government, you are helping people. Even if not, you don't feel like you are directly, you are. And so I don't know, I've been there almost 10 years and I absolutely love it. What else, guys?
Yeah, the holidays. My goodness, we have great holidays.
Cut to the
Every week
chase.
I get to talk to our new hires and I always close with, welcome. You're going to love it here. We have amazing holidays. And I was uneducated. I didn't realize in Indiana, 3 out of 4 years are election years and you get 14 holidays. Amazing.
Ashley's hitting the really important points here.
You know,
I love helping people. I really do. And I love holidays. Helping people winning holidays are my values.
the trifecta.
Yeah.
Because you were here before I got here.
Say what, Kate?
Oh, Sam, when did you get started with the state?
I started at the end of last July.
Wow, that's a big time to come into a new job. A COVID hire then.
Yeah. I'd actually worked for Starbucks at 6 years at that point. And funnily enough, one of my now coworkers was a regular there, came in for coffee every morning, pick up her mobile order. And when I told her that I was leaving the store, she said, "Oh my gosh, you should come work for the state because there's an opening in my department." And that's how I ended up working with Holly and Ashley. And
Oh my
Kate,
gosh,
and
how
yeah.
great.
So come work for the state. It's real fun.
Yes. So glad that I listened to Stephanie. So glad to have Sam.
Oh, awesome.
What Holly said is, working with the state is everything from, working in the state park with DNR to working with the Department of Child Services to working with the Department of Revenue to the Department of Technology, like the Office of Technology. So there really is everything. Even locksmiths and HR and writers and videographers. And the crazy thing with having an employer with so much diversity is that there's a niche for every person. So I was looking for jobs for months and wasn't convinced that I found anything that I liked. And I actually started back in December, but I was looking through jobs and I was like, well, this one is writing, this one is creativity, this one's communications. I was like, and this one has to do with the farmer's market? How did these all fall together? I've managed a farmer's market before, I've written before. How did my whole world just collide into one job? Yeah, there's everything. And why should you work for the state? Everyone says it is the pleasure and the satisfaction of being a part of a team that cares and a team that's building each other up. And one more side note, when I started working this job, I also came out of retail to start this job, as a manager in a retail store. So it was a very different environment. And the first week was super jarring. And I went home and I told my family, I was like, everybody that I work with is so happy. It's I don't know how to take it. They smile and they say good morning. And they don't complain if you ask them how their day is. I don't know what to do. So it's cool. It's a lot of people that really love what they do and have found a place that is fit. So if you're looking for that, if you're looking for an employer that cares about you and about the people that's serving, find a place with us and we would love to have you.
Package all 4 of those up and make 4 little commercials. That would be fantastic. The state is a great place to work. And if you want to do a little civic work next year, any words of advice for somebody who's looking at Flipping Finance Challenge next year, or is scared to come, considering coming, maybe doesn't know what they're getting into? What would you say to somebody who is interested in Flipping Finance Challenge?
Bring a camera and give yourself a reason to be there.
I'd say, I mean, there's something for everyone, honestly. We all, the four of us have, and Monty included, 5 of us have different backgrounds, and I don't think any of us have done something quite like this before, but it was a fun challenge. So I think even if you think like, this really isn't up my alley, it probably is, and you can definitely put something together to help a city or a county, a community out positively.
Definitely. I'd say something similar, like go in with an open mind, because there are so many different challenges and different, like they each bring different obstacles and different benefits. So even if you think you have nothing to offer, you do. As Holly very sternly told me that first day, you do have something to contribute. It just takes a little bit of creativity and willingness to think outside the box.
Yeah, agreed. I'd say that it's, if you often think, wow, I have a really good idea about this, or I have a really good idea about this, or how a community could do this, or a solution to a problem, but you don't really have a good mechanism to let that all play out in your everyday life. This is the opportunity to get to do that, to have the say, to put your ideas out there, to help other communities with your own ideas. So it was a lot of fun. It's not a huge time commitment, but it was a lot of fun. Even with the kids' activities, I still was able to manage to get the work done and finish the project. So I don't know, it's just a lot of fun, a lot of camaraderie. That was a cool piece of it.
Very cool. Well, team No Money, no problems. You've been more than generous with your time with us. And congrats again for the inaugural statewide award for innovation in public finance. And we've got a big in-person celebration coming up here soon with the state treasurer, which I know she's very excited about, to see all you in person, and Monty. If we can get Monty out, that would be lovely, but I know you will. So Sam, Kate, Ashley, Holly, and of course, Monty, thank you all for participating in Flipping Finance Challenge. Thanks for sharing both your passion for public service, passion for innovation, passion for building the next generation of leaders. And I hope to see you guys soon. And for the Indiana Bondcast, this is Mark Wollner signing off our mini series this episode on the Flipping Finance Challenge. And tune in for the next episode for another group of innovators from 2022. Talk to you later. Hello, everybody. This is Mark Wollner from the Indiana Bond Bank, your host of the Indiana Bondcast, which is our podcast about all things local government finance and public sector, municipal finance. And this series we've been working on is with our innovators from the Flipping Finance Challenge 2022, Civic Super Heroes. And we've got another Civic Superhero with us today, Jenifer Rome. Jenifer, welcome. Great to see you.
Thank you. Thanks. Great to be here.
Jenifer has competed in Flipping Finance Challenge before and came back this year as a solo participant and tackled not one, but 2 challenges, if I have that correct. You worked on a couple of different things.
I did actually throw in 3.
3. I knew there was more than 2. Yeah. So tell us about that, I guess. Yeah. Tell us about coming back, and then just how did you know coming in, you were going to do work on more than one? Did you know, or did you just kind of go for it as you went? I'd love to hear your process on that.
I played a little bit of catch up because I couldn't make it to the kickoff event. So it was Sunday really looking at everything. And the first one that really took my attention was the Jasper Frogger one, because we'd had a similar type situation where I'm from. So I was like, oh, maybe we can use that. But there was a lot of really good ones in there as well. So initially I thought I was just going to do Frogger, but then I I was really drawn to J counties, like what the health is going on. Like I really thought it was funny, and B, I was just like, it's really a problem, not just in J County, but honestly, like the state itself. We have we're one of the unhealthier states that are out there. So I really was attracted to the fact that they wanted to try to combat that as well. And then also they had the Smells Like Teen Spirit, which, I like Nirvana. So that was one of also drawn to me on there. And so they really had me in there. And I knew that like I wasn't going to be able to give it like 100% as far as like what I was doing, because I was really dedicated to the Jasper one, but there was a lot of ideas that I had, and I just wanted to really put them out there, even if it wasn't winning. I knew like I had no ideations that I was going to actually win that challenge, because it was really just more information for them of things that were out there, things that were just really popping off my head there. But yeah, second year for Flipping Finance. Last year was the sprint, which was interesting, like the overnight sprint, which was really interesting to me with a teammate. And then this year, unfortunately, that teammate couldn't make it. And so I still wanted to do it. And I was like, I'm doing it on my own because I had so much fun. And really like these types of challenges are right up my alley. It's kind of what I do for my day-to-day job. And I love my day-to-day job.
Want to do more of it. That's fantastic. What I loved is like, you've got a very right brain and left brain challenge. Like the Frogger challenge, read your solution. And you could see it like the analysis and the finance and do this. And like, and then like the Smells Like Teen Spirit, it's more of a qualitative, like quality of life. I don't know, softer, touchy feely, or like if you take the name off the two, it's like, I can't believe this is written by the same person. Like your skill sets are super diverse. So that's kudos to you on that. I don't know if you noticed that or how you access that, but that was amazing.
Appreciate that. Yeah, it's definitely that's like kind of, again, what I do, to tell you the truth. Like we have to take my job is to take everything and look at it from all angles. Okay. And so I have to put myself into these people's shoes and these people's shoes and see what they want, kind of come together, because here's the thing, not everybody gets what they want all the time. So you have to be that master of compromise, and you have to figure out, so you have to be able to really encompass all of that all the time.
So tell us a little bit more about what you do. You're a business analyst, is that right? Yep.
I'm a business analyst with the city of Fishers. I work and my department's called Business Solutions Group. So BSG for short. Like I said, we actually work and do pretty much all things solutioning for the city. We do data analysis. We work with process improvements, efficiencies, implementations. We help with, so department will come to us with an internal, external problem. We will sit down with stakeholders and then kind of go through a whiteboarding brainstorming session. And from there, we will, okay, now is this a people or process issue, right? Or is this a software issue? Is this something that needs to be fixed with software? So if it's something that needs to be fixed with people, then, we go out and we talk to them about what they're doing, and then maybe tweak some of the processes. Do we need to invent some new processes? Or if it truly is something that software could solve that we couldn't do internally with our current systems, we go out and we vet the softwares, we meet with the vendors, write the functional requirements, meet with the stakeholders, and go through the whole implementation process, get them set up, and then we train them up and let them hit the ground running.
You really are problem solving day in and day out. And you probably each day don't know what you're going to walk into or what's going to come across your desk, which has got to be a lot of fun. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, like our most recent one that we got to work on was the city of Fishers acquired a utility company. So that was something I've never worked with utilities. Right. So we're just like, let's work on buying a sewer company today. So, something I never thought I would say, but here I am saying it.
There you go. And yeah, as I've learned in my time in the bond bank, sewer and water, all that, those pipes under the ground, that infrastructure is so super critical to efficient local government. So go you. Good job. Good job, Fishers.
Oh, yeah. My BSG team, we work great together. We're amazing. I cannot say enough about our team that's there.
That is neat. I've not really heard of another city town who's got kind of that BSG style model, which it seems like a great one to replicate. Really effective.
I'm not sure if any other place that has it either. It's kind of right up line with Fisher's motto of smart, vibrant, entrepreneurial. So we're
Mm,
really like looking to push the envelope there.
nice. And I would love, you mentioned a little bit ago, I should have pulled it out, but you participated last year when it was not only all virtual thanks to COVID, but it was that 18-hour overnight. We're running on fumes on Saturday morning. And then you did this year, which was a little more stretched out. What did you think between the two models as you've experienced both of them?
I really liked, like, I thought it was really fun to do the 18-hour sprint because I'd really never done anything like that before. Took me back to like the college days of pulling an all-nighter. Honestly, is what it felt like, right? Like cramming and trying to get everything in. And I loved the fun portion of that. But I felt like with kind of this spread out, I was able to really give a little more time and research and to be able to solution a little bit better for that. So I did like it having it spread out a bit more.
Yeah, that was our hope, that the communities get some solutions that had a little more, time and effort and background, and just, whereas with 18 hours, sometimes getting it on the page and getting everything turned in on time is half the battle. So that is awesome. You also participated, I think, in almost every one of our Lunch and Learn webinars that we did throughout the 2 weeks, just to kind of keep the finger on the pulse of the innovators. We'll love your any favorites or suggestions from that, anything we should do again, or make sure it gets in the waste bin and never comes back again for a future Flipping Finance.
I will say the one that I had the most fun with, and I think is engaging and would be great team building, and I'm actually going to use it with my team, is the PowerPoint karaoke.
Oh, wow.
That was my absolute favorite one. It really gets people out of their shell. It's like a nice icebreaker, but also can see how their mind works a little bit and what they can pull, but then being able to ask for help when you need it. It's really that spontaneity. I think that spontaneity a lot of times is what really drives creativity and solutioning outside of the box.
And for those who are listening, who've never done it, PowerPoint karaoke I had never heard of it. We found it. It's an exercise where somebody's created like a 10 slide deck of just random slides that don't really relate at all to anything. They're off the wall, goofy, but that first slide is like a topic like eating healthy. And then, I don't know, Jenifer, I'm trying to think like of even a picture you'll get, I don't even know, like a truck on fire driving off a cliff or something like that. Yeah.
There was one with a guy that had like a shirt on and no pants, right? Like, or two dogs that were dressed up like king and queen. That's
right. And then, so your job as the person on tap is just to roll with it, right? And just riff on how that relates to whatever your topic is. And so, yeah, that is cool. That it was fun to watch, just the innovators jump in and help each other. I don't know if I've laughed harder in a long time. Like, just people just took it and were so super funny with it. So good. I could also see us using that here at the Bond Bank, just on a regular, just a, getaway team building type of thing. So you've done it twice. Is there anything you'd say to someone considering Flipping Finance Challenge? I mean, I know it's finance and it's presented by a bond bank. Like, these are all three very scary words. From someone who's come through, survived it twice, won, and it's not about the winning, but you've certainly been successful in it. What would you say to somebody who's thinking about coming on the fence?
Don't be scared of it, right? It's just, you don't know. I have no financial background at all. I'm not even 100% sure how I came across this last year, to tell you the truth. I was just like, oh, that looks fun. So let's try it, right? So I came across it and I was like, I don't know anything about finance. So I looked at the website and it's like, you have to have no financial experience. And then really, once I got in there and looked at the challenge, I'm like, yeah, there's a little bit. Some of them have financial components to them, like where like they really need the finance, but other ones are really, they're just looking for solutions. They're looking to improve their community. It's very civic, oriented and trying to do the best for their communities. And so that's really what drew me there that first year, and why I'm back. And that's why I loved this year's themes of the Civic Super Heroes. I think as like younger generation, that a lot of times we kind of don't know what we can do to kind of give back to our communities or to our state. And I think that this Flipping Finance is a great way to do that, and that we are able to maybe it's not local, but we're able to do it for the state and other communities that maybe don't have the resources and provide those forums. So we're able to give back to that. And even if your solution doesn't win, it's not a huge deal if it doesn't, because they're going to take pieces from all of those. So that one thing that you put in there that like, they're like, didn't think about that, that could really make a huge impact on that community down the line. So really do it. It's great experience. It's great networking. And I can't say enough about the people, like this lunch and learns this year were absolutely amazing. I got so much out of those as well. But just don't be afraid, because it's finance. Jump in there, have fun, do it with a team. I 100% recommend doing it with a team. Doing it solo is great, but you don't get that collaboration. You're going to probably miss a little bit in there. And then also, you know, it's just so fun working with the team, and you get to, you know, work together and figure out what's each other's strengths if you don't know what that is yet, or you know, work on pushing that to someone else. Like my strength isn't data analysis. So if I had had somebody for the data analysis portion of this, I probably would have been able to present maybe a stronger solution.
Oh, wow. We just need to take you on the road with us, Jenifer, every time we go to talk about flipping finance. That means so much. And yeah, as we think about 2023, maybe we should start thinking about some venues in Fishers or something like that. Cause you are, yeah, you never know. We're always looking for something new and cool, and we change the venue up every year. So yeah, start noodling on it.
I mean, just other thing. I mean, you don't have to have, like I was saying before, you don't have to have a finance background. I started in public safety. So I was a police officer, as a crime scene investigator, as a police dispatcher, and now I'm a business analyst. So really, like, there's not a whole thing, like, you don't have to have, like, even coming from the public sector or finance or public government at all times, like, you really just have to be open and be creative and push that.
So we can't let you get off the podcast without diving right into that. So you started in what, criminal justice, and then so talk to me like that. What's your trajectory then, and how you got to where you are? Because that seems super cool.
A little different, right? Like most people are like, you did what? So yeah, I graduated from Ball State with my bachelor's degree in criminal justice. Gung ho, families, police officers, gonna go do that, right? So was a police officer for 5 years after I graduated. During that time, I was like, you know, I think I want to do a little bit more, but I'm not sure what I want to do. So I went and got my master's in public service. So basically a teaching degree in public service. From there, I'm like, what do I want to do? You know, CSIs were huge at that time, all like the 12 different spinoffs that they had, and everything solved in 30 seconds or 30-minute episodes.
That's right.
You know, didn't go in with those rose-colored goggles at all, but went down to Indianapolis and worked for the Marion County Crime Lab for 2 years. So, you know, a lot of violent crimes, homicides, things like that. But I love that job. That job was amazing. However, it became very taxing for family life because you're constantly on call and things are getting done. So I wasn't ready to switch out of public safety yet. So I applied to the Hamilton County Dispatch Center, where I spent the next 5 years taking emergency calls. I was a certified training officer for that. And then I don't want to say I get bored, but like I didn't feel like I was using my creativity or my mind enough there. And so I really wanted to something that could push me, that I could do that with. So during that time, I went on and took some courses in data analysis, process analysis, things like that. And then the opportunity for the city of Fishers came up, and with my like we have pillars in our community, you know, public safety, things like that, and our group tries to make sure that we have a really good hold on each of those. And so with my background in public safety, I was able to really kind of like segue into the with the process and data analysis, but also understanding what our public safety we're going through and some of the challenges that they face, probably better than some of the others. So that's where I've been for the last 2.5 years, is as a business analyst with the city.
Gosh, thanks for sharing. That's amazing. We really should have you like as a lunch and learn next year. I think about some of the students, like you come out with a degree and you think you're gung ho, like you know what you're going to do, and then maybe, I think we've all experienced this, a couple of years in, maybe it's like this is good, but maybe I've got something else, or maybe I can do. It can also be like a very scary feeling of like, did I just go to school for all that, and then I'm going to do something totally different, right? And like, just resting in that and being okay that like you've been there, I've been there, like people have been there, and you'll get through it. It's going to be okay, and you'll find whatever's next. But I think that's a great message, especially for some of our student groups. Like the first thing you take out of school is not, you're not married to it. It's not your end all be all, and being okay with the uncertainty, which can be really tough. It's easy to say, but it's really tough. So yeah, thank you for sharing
100%.
that.
I wasn't able to give it up from the public safety because I deal with them. I work with them a lot now, but I don't get engaged as much as I used to. So I also get adjunct in IUPUI in criminal justice. And so like, it's really great. Like when we did flipping finance last year, like I asked some of my students some of the questions. And so like this year I didn't get a chance to do that, but like really like engaging, like that's where like I pushed it off last year to the students there. I'm like, hey, if you guys are interested, here's something that's going on. So if there's any like professors out there, like I know that we had a few on here, but like, you know, even if you're not going to participate or whatnot, like pushing it off to them because, you know, they're great, great reminder, great people to, great minds to have. You know, they're new, fresh to the world. And sometimes we get so stagnant with our ideas. This is how it has to be. This is how it's always been. And then having that younger generation come in and saying, hey, what about this? Hey, did you think about that? And things that sometimes were just out of the realm of our possibilities. So I think last year that helped. And I was upset this year I didn't have that opportunity.
We'd love any of your students to come. Yeah, if you continue to adjunct, that's fantastic. And it's great you're still able to keep a hand on the public safety side. So we're appreciative of that. Jenifer, thanks for joining us on the Indiana Bondcast. Thanks for coming back to Flipping Finance Challenge now 2 years in a row. And yeah, we're excited about 2023 and what that starts to look like. So we'll take a deep breath here after we finish up and then pretty soon pivot into next year. So again, for the Indiana Bondcast, this is Mark Woolner. Jenifer, sorry, I stepped on you there. Please.
No. Just thanks for having me. It's fun. And again, anybody thinking about flipping finance, 100% do it, 100% worth it. Cannot say enough great things about this challenge.
Oh man, that means a ton. So I can't think of a better way to end it. If you like the podcast, hit subscribe wherever you get your podcast. And until next time, this is Mark Woolner saying thanks for listening to the Indiana Bondcast. Well, hello again. This is Mark Woolner with the Indiana Bond Bank. Welcome you to another episode of our Indiana Bondcast, the podcast about all things public finance. And we continue our series featuring Flipping Finance Challenge innovators with our friend Cy, who is a first-time Flipping Finance Challenge innovator. Cy, welcome to the Bondcast.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for the intro. Thank you.
Absolutely. Why don't you just start, Cy? Would you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you go to school, what you're studying?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Sai, and I'm doing my master's in cybersecurity. I came to the US last year. So I'm originally from India. So this is my second year here in the US, and I'll be completing my program in about 10 months from now. And really excited, I have my schedule packed for the next 2 months, going to do some lot of exciting research stuff. So excited for that.
Wow. Congratulations. And thanks for fitting us into, that's a very robust program, very accelerated program, and you fit Flipping Finance Challenge in. How did you find us? What made you say yes to participating this year?
Yeah, sure. So I got an email from my program advisor who's telling us that this is an exciting opportunity and this is probably a way to give back to the community. So I was like, okay, why don't I try this out? And honestly, I didn't expect that there'll be a cybersecurity challenge in it. But when I had a look at the website and found that the Indiana Executive Council of Cybersecurity was participating in it, I was even more excited. And I found the problem statement to be very, very interesting, Mark. Because I have actually been a victim of a hacking attack myself. My Facebook account got hacked, and I was literally in my undergrad and I didn't know what to do. So I really thought the problem statement, it felt really personal to me. And I thought that I need to do something so that I can help others to combat against cyber attacks and to generally improve awareness among cybersecurity. So I thought why don't I participate? And it turned out to be a very, very, exciting and even where I learned a lot. So.
Nice. What did you like about the event? As a first-time participant, I'd love feedback on what you what you liked about the event. It was convenient. Cybersecurity happened to be a challenge, but beyond that, were there other things that you enjoyed?
I love the theme overall. Like it was some sort of a superhero theme, and that was kind of like cool and novel. So I got excited about it. And I guess the connections that I was able to form, attending the meet, I got a chance to like speak with the stakeholders directly. And that was something very new to me. In an academic setting, usually you do your assignments, you do your projects, and you don't really get the chance to interact with people from outside, especially from the industry. But over here, like I was interacting with someone from the industry, someone telling me about the gravity of the problem. And that was kind of very, very new experience to me. And that definitely helped me in building out my final solution as well. So, yeah.
Your final solution was, I loved it. It was technical and like an answer to the question. You also did a great job of bringing in, you brought it home in terms of like humor, and also just you created Jonathan, which was kind of your proxy, like your person. You called yourself the chief burrito officer. Tell us more about that, because it seemed intentional to like bring a little bit of humor to a very serious topic.
Yeah, Mark, I think you would be interested in knowing this, that actually I have a friend named Jonathan, like in the US, like he's my best friend over here.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I was about to like send an invite to him, and apparently I sent an email to a wrong Jonathan, who's apparently from a different school. So I was telling him like, oh, there seems to be a lot of Jonathans in the US. And he was telling me it was a common name. Make sure you check out the email ID. So, I thought like, why don't we bring him in the presentation? Because my intention was not to approach the solution directly, but to create a background or to create a story behind it. And I really felt, I'm happy to hear from you that it sounded interesting and the story turned out to be really well. Chief Burrito Officer is very, very interesting, Mark, because I was having a burrito at Chipotle, if I'm not wrong. And this was actually after I attended the initial workshop, the inaugural event by the Flipping the Finance Challenge. And I was thinking about what am I going to do? Nothing came to my head because I was hungry as well. And suddenly something struck me. It was like Chief Burrito Officer, and that's the story behind it.
Yeah, and I love like you connected. I love a good metaphor, and chief burritos have many layers. Cybersecurity has many layers, and you just boom. And from then on, I was hooked. And so that was a great. I love it. Yeah, just the connections that come up through this event. So great job. That was fantastic. If you were to talk to somebody, one of your colleagues or another student about the event to try to persuade them to come next year. Gosh, because you came by yourself, very brave, didn't really know what the event was. What would you tell somebody else who wasn't sure about whether to come next year?
I would tell them that this is a no-brainer. Like this is definitely a very, very interesting opportunity, and they need to grab this opportunity. It's not only, only from a network standpoint, but even this problem standpoint. These are real world problems which are faced by actual industry people. And, as someone from academic, getting the opportunity at such a young age to make a difference to the society is very, very, helpful. And at the same time, I feel a sense of gratitude within myself as well. So I definitely feel, be brave, don't have any fear, come out with whatever solution you have in mind. And I think you guys are going to do a great job. So
that's well said, better than I can put it. You're right. There's really the beauty of it. These are real problems. There's really no right or wrong answer, or they would have been solved a long time ago. So it's all solutions are welcome and often spark new and other creative ideas. So yeah, we hope to see you again, Cy. What do you hope to do with so when your program's done here in the next couple of years? What do you see next for yourself?
Yeah, so I hope to get some industry experience, probably work in a firm for about 2 years, especially in this threat intelligence area. That's the particular area where I'm looking at. Get some experience. I want to do a startup myself as well. So like 2 or 3 years down the line, I'm planning to like start a business. But I think the main thing for me now is to stay grounded, get the necessary experience, exposure, make connections, and boom, your business gets started. So.
Boom. Well, we will be a fan. We'll be watching alongside as you continue your journey. Cy, thanks for joining Flipping Finance Challenge. And thanks for spending a few minutes here with us today to talk about your experience. And we just are so thankful you said yes. It was great to get to meet you at the event and then see what came out at the end of the process. And I know the Executive Council for Cybersecurity is just thrilled to get your solution. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. And thanks for organizing the event. You, Brian, you guys did a fantastic job. Created an environment where we can discuss with other students, discuss with the stakeholders. Keep doing it. I'm sure next year there are going to be a lot more participants and we're going to hear a lot more interesting solutions as well. And I'm looking forward to participating in the event next year. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. We'd love to have you, get you on the list right now. So Cy, thank you so much. And on behalf of the Indiana Bond Bank, thanks all for listening to another episode of the Indiana Bondcast. Subscribe where you get your podcast and continue to listen. So for the Bond Bank, this is Mark Wollner. Cy, thank you again.
Bye, guys. Bye.